Hey everybody, I am back doing this again. So I did this yesterday, but if you watch that video, it's a half hour long, but I didn't do a whole lot of sewing. I did a lot of talking and I did a lot of showing, demonstrating. So I'm going to do some sewing. So if you've never made this before, you're unsure how to sew it, it's a 9 patch, but we have to put the patches together. So it's like a little puzzle. And basically we're doing half square triangles or quarter square triangles is what we're using. So it's relatively easy. It looks kind of cool from, back here. It looks like, how'd you put those together? If I like make it, I don't know, pull it apart a little bit. Anyway, you can clearly see the lines on mine. But let me take you down here to this surface. So it looks like a jumbled mess right now, but I have partially put this together. So you already have the dimensions from the last video. Go check it out if you want to make this Christmas card block. It's from this book. Just to recap, it's from Quiltmakers 1000 Blocks. It's on page 383. It's this one right here, Christmas cards. If you have the video or the CD, it's block number 752. It's on page 383 right here. I already went over all the dimensions and everything that you need to cut out and stuff. This makes a 12.5 inch unfinished block. This is 12.5 inches unfinished. So let's put this together. All right. Now, let me get this out of the way. Okay. So I've partially put this together and I've partially left it undone so that we can sew it a little bit, at least a little bit together. Okay. So if you watch you really do have to watch the first video. So watch the first video. I show you how to make these. Okay, I showed you how to make everything, but I show you how to make these. This is where you need to start. So you need to get your 7-inch rectangles, and then you need the A. You need your A triangles. So this is B, get your A and B, put those together. I show you how to do that in that first video. So do that there. Now, to make the corners, each corner is going to be the same. So you get and this is C. So this is A, B, and C. So you get your C, half square triangle right here. Put it with this one. These two are the same size now. Okay? So you can line up the points at the top, and then you can line up the points at the edges. And this is a bias, so be careful that you don't stretch the fabric, but then you're going to sew 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay? So let me just make sure this is as close as it's going to get. Okay? So then you sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So let's go take that to the machine right now and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, mine are usually wonky. That's just how mine goes. So we're just going to do this kind of quick. 1/4 inch right there. Now, when you open this, you can gently, let me get my iron ready. Gently open this up and roll this back. So now the seam allowance is this way. So it's not on the cream or the light colored fabric. It's on the darker colored fabric. Gently roll that open. You don't need to pull it. Just be very gentle about it. I just have a hot iron, no water, no steam. And you shouldn't even twist it like that. That's bad. You just place that on. Just let the iron do the work. Just let the heat do the work. And voila. The seam allowances on the back look like this. I put the seam allowance to the dark side. Not to the inside, but to the outside. Okay? Now, another thing that you can do is trim off these little tags. So some people call them dog ears. You could trim off the dog ears. If you want to trim up your entire block, you can. You can make sure that all 4 of these are the same size. So, I'll don't even know what size that would be. And let me double check here. This is 4 and 3/4. Looks like they're going to be 4 and 3/4. Okay? So if you really wanted to, make sure everything is squared up, 4 and 3/4, all 4 of these blocks. Okay, now, let's take this back over here and put this piece in the corner where it goes. Now, so if you look at this block, the small triangle is at the top and the bigger triangle is at the bottom. That is how you want it in your quilt block. You want to make sure that this is on the upper corner on the outside, just like so. And the bigger triangle is on the inside. Okay? So just like this one, it's already done. Small block, small triangle at the top, bigger triangle at the bottom. This points to the outside, just like so. Okay? All right, now I just screwed this up with my elbow. Okay. So, when you put the block together, now on these little ones, so these are the corners, okay? So do the 4 corners just like that. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're making the Christmas cards, you have the black, you have the red, you have the green tone on tone, and you have the green print. This is my green print, okay? So that's that. Now, for the corners, those are done. Now, for the 4 centers, I guess for the 4 middles, let's call these middles. For the 4 middles, you need to make a block that looks like this. So it's a 1/4 square triangle at the top and a 1/2 square triangle at the bottom. Okay? So that's what that looks like. Now, in order to put it into the, this is now a patch. In order to put it into your 9 patch, you have to make sure that these are the correct matching corners, if that makes sense. This goes to this corner and this goes to that corner. So I'm going to place this right here. This matches my green print and this matches my green tone on tone. Okay? Like so. Now, in order to get this, I have a 1/2 one made up here. So you want to take your, this is D's. So I have one up here that is not sewn together yet. Okay? So you take your cream and you put the long triangle side to the outside and the triangle point to the middle, to the inside. You take your other D color, this happens to be red, same thing. You put your point to the center and the long triangle goes to the outside towards the same color square in the corner. Okay? And now on the long side, this you're going to take C. This is block C or 1/2 square triangle C. And when you put these two together, it looks like this. When these two come together, it looks like this. And then the cream always goes to the outside. Okay? The cream always goes to the outside. And here, cream is to the outside. Same thing. So now you take your 1/2 square, or these are 1/4 square. Take your 1/4 square triangles, right sides together, so they're like this. You put them like this. So your 1/4 inch seam allowance, let's go take it over to the machine. Your 1/4 inch seam allowance, just one side. So you make sure it is all lined up. Everything should be perfect. And then sew down just one side so that the points are now, they have now come together. Now what I'm going to do is trim off this little extra because that bothers me. And then I'm going to take it over and to my iron, and again, seam to the dark side. Okay? Oh, there it is. Seam to the dark side. Just set that there, and then open that up, and here we've made that. Now, you can trim off this little dog ear up here. You can use scissors. You can use your rotary cutter. You can use a square or a triangle, and make sure everything is even if you want to. Just bring this back over here. I just use scissors, as you can see. Now, this side and this side is the same length. Just like that. You can see that. Yep, same length. Now, we're going to flip this over so it's the exact same size triangle. These corners match up, and the tip should match up too. Okay? Now we take this back over to the machine. I'm not going to do it. You already know how to do that. 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then you open that up, and then you have this. Okay? You put your seam to the dark side, to the bigger triangle, just like that. Okay? Now, you have finished the corners, and you have finished the middles. Okay? Now, the one square that's left, the one patch that is left, is the center, the absolute center. And you're just going to take the D's, 4 D's right here, and put all points together, and that creates another patch. Okay? Now, separate them a little bit. Take 2 right sides together. So your 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. Now it looks like kind of like this, right? Just like that. Do the same thing over here, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now these two are units. Now put that together just like you've always been doing this whole time. 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew that up. Now you have that middle patch, okay? Now, once you have those, then you put your patches together in either rows or columns. So I put these together just like so. Now you take your square, right sides together, sew your 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up. Same thing with the last one, 1/4 inch seam allowance, open that up, and you have a column. Do the same thing here and do the same thing here, and it looks like this. And then once you have that, all 3 done, then you sew one column together, and then you sew the other column together, making sure you put your right sides together. And now, because you have altered the seams, so on the outside ones, on the outside columns, put your seam allowances to the outside. And then for the inside column, put your seam allowances to the inside, like this. So seam allowances to the inside here, okay? And then just across this seam, you can see it's to the outside. And that is so that when you put them together, right sides, the seams will nest. This seam is this way, this seam is that way. When you look at it here, the seams nest, and that's good for both sides. The seams should nest, and then that way you will have perfect corner points, okay? So that is how you make your Christmas card square block, December block of the month in January. Okay? I hope that helps. I know I didn't sew everything because it shakes the camera and it takes some time. But it's simple. Half square triangles, 1/4 square triangles. Put them together in the pattern that makes sense. Okay? So and you have to measure and cut precisely when you're making your squares. And then once you cut your triangles and sew them together, they should all come out to be absolutely perfect. And then you do 1/4 inch seam allowance for everything, and then you have your blocks, okay? And then just put them together as it's shown in the book, or as I do show it here, and just like that, and you're good to go, okay? And it comes out like this. All right, so there you have it. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I just wanted to go over this real quick in case you didn't understand it from yesterday. You may still not understand it today, but hopefully it makes a little bit more sense for you. It's relatively easy. If you've been sewing for a while, you know how to do this. If you're brand new, you might get a little bit confused, but I actually have a series on how to do like half square triangles. It's way back in my playlists somewhere. So you might have to dig for that a little bit, but it's there. Okay, you guys, have fun making this, and I'll see you in 2 weeks on our second January block of the month, which is going to be a November theme. All right, you guys, I'll see you next week or in the next video. Have fun. I'll see ya. Bye.